Today's video is brought to you by Audible. Hey brother! Jay, we have been talking about Infinity War so much lately, and guess what? Today we're diving right back in. Last week we talked about how Star-Lord, despite his total over-the-top emotional reaction, really isn't to blame for Thanos completing the Infinity Gauntlet. But it did get me wondering, in the event that Star-Lord doesn't lose his mind right here, and they do successfully get the gauntlet off of Thanos, what happens next? Would the team of Avengers still lost? How strong is Thanos without the Infinity Gauntlet? Guys, we have to give a huge thank you to today's sponsor, Audible. When we are writing theories, a huge part of it is just going to the source material, watching the movies over and over again, looking for every little scrap of detail that we can build off of. But another major aspect of it is just listening to stories and figuring out how the best ones are told. For me, this means constantly having a book fired up and ready to listen to whenever I'm on the move. And Audible is perfect for that. And today they're offering a free audiobook and a 30-day free trial when you go to audible.com/SCB or simply text SCB to 500-500. Back to Thanos. Bravo, my friend! Not many people could have taken out half the galaxy with a little bedazzled mitten, but my question for you today is, how powerful are you without it? I mean, the guy seems pretty powerful. It almost seems like the only way for the Avengers to defeat him is to literally remove the gauntlet and then actually use it against him, right? But even if/when they do that, how much of a battle should they still be expecting from Thanos? We know, for example, that Doctor Strange basically allows for them to lose the fight on Titan in pursuit of the single path to victory. Maybe. Full video by clicking the card. And if that's the case, we kind of have to assume that even if they had got the gauntlet off, it wouldn't have mattered. Thanos apparently still would have defeated them just with his own personal set of powers or strength, which is kind of crazy. Just how strong is this guy? And that becomes kind of a tough question to answer because before Infinity War, we haven't really seen him that much in action or even at all. And by the time we see him in Infinity War, he already has the Power Stone. And I do want to be clear here that we are talking about the MCU, the movies Thanos, and not the comic book Thanos, because even just a little bit of research shows us that the movie version of him is significantly watered down, which is crazy to say because this guy is a beast. Comic book Thanos, for example, isn't just a member of a species of people that already are super powerful and have superhuman speed and powers and all that. He was also born with superpowers within that species. He is the most powerful of the most powerful, which was information that I actually felt like, for me personally, cleared some stuff up, because if Titans are just this powerful as a species, how are there not just purple crazy people running the entire galaxy? By the way, some of his comic book powers include shooting concussive beams out of his hands, laser vision, being able to teleport anywhere in the galaxy, being a master of the mystic arts, telepathy, and owning a time machine. Basically, all of the things the Infinity Gauntlet allows him to do in the movie are things he was just naturally capable of. The mitten basically just covers all of his bases. Back to movie Thanos. I have to say, right out of the gate, I was a little curious as to why he is so respected and feared by basically everyone. I mean, just look at Ebony Maw. He's right-hand man, for example. His powers seem to be off the freaking charts. Just simply by thinking and seemingly with no effort whatsoever, he can move and control all objects. It seems to me that he could have given Thanos a pretty good run for his money, right? I mean, he basically single-handedly takes down Thor and Doctor Strange. But so then are we to believe that Thanos is so strong that these powers could almost have no effect on him? Personally, I think this must be the case, because Ebony Maw doesn't exactly seem like one to hold back on abusing his powers, and he quite literally reveres Thanos. In fact, for as big of a role as he plays in the comics, the fact that he died so easily and so early on was almost similar to as if somebody just came up, shot Tony Stark, and that was just the end of it. He was just dead. Thanos, just how strong is he? We actually end up with quite a few examples to kind of try to figure it out from. We find out in Guardians 1 that even without any of the stones, he is still considered to be the most powerful being in the universe.
Thanos is the most powerful being in the universe.
If this is the case though, why does it take him so long to get to this point?
Fine. I'll do it myself.
Yeah, obviously. Why are you trusting people like Loki and Ronan? Once you start doing it yourself, it takes you 1 day. The answer is Asgard. Asgard protects the 9 realms and maybe most importantly, Nidavellir.
I mean, that place is a legend. They make the most powerful, horrific weapons to ever torment the universe.
And as long as the Forge was being protected by the Asgardians, Thanos could not go there to have them build the Infinity Gauntlet for him. But once Asgard gets stabbed in the face by a giant lava sword, he barely waits one day.
Asgard was supposed to protect us!
This suggests that as powerful as Thanos is, he doesn't believe that he or his forces could take on a fully equipped Asgardian army. So at the very least, that is one limit of his power, which is not entirely surprising. After all, we've seen Thor almost beat him single-handedly with Stormbreaker. And for that matter, Thor's sister Hela and his father Odin would both be considered more powerful than Thor himself. It is true that Odin says,
"You're stronger."
But if you ask me, I think that's just some good old-fashioned parenting and speaking more to his ultimate potential than his strength inside of that moment. Either way, when Hela returns, she does exactly what Thanos seems to be too afraid to do, which is defeating an entire Asgardian army. In a way, Hela really clears the path for Thanos. I mean, she can't return until Odin dies, which is one key person that he can't defeat, and then immediately shows up and defeats the entire army that he thinks he can't defeat. And this may actually be even more fitting than what we see on screen, because in the comics, Thanos falls in love with Death and is trying to woo her, and in the movies, Hela is literally the goddess of death. In any case, it would appear that Thanos doesn't believe that he is as strong as the most powerful Asgardian. Specifically, I think we can see this with his armor. He doesn't actually remove it until after he possesses 2 of the Infinity Stones. Up until he receives the Tesseract, he is wearing his armor, but as soon as he gets it, he sheds the armor and never looks back. So at this point, I think the only 2 characters that we could argue are more powerful than Thanos without the gauntlet would be Odin and Hela, who are both conveniently dead. You could also probably argue Surtur, since he is the one who defeats Hela and destroys all of Asgard, but also kills himself in the process. So with that, you could maybe argue with Thor because he defeats Surtur early on, but that's with his hammer, and we actually see Thor go up against Thanos himself, and it doesn't go super well. And that's kind of getting towards the end of the list. You could probably make the argument for the Hulk, like potentially being a match for him, but of course we literally see that fight play out and he gets his butt kicked. And yes, Thanos does have the Power Stone right here, but he is definitely not using it against the Hulk. And yes, we know that there is some possibility that the Hulk is actually Loki in disguise, but we can't forget what we hear from Ebony Maw.
Let him have his fun.
Maw, at the very least, believes that this is the Hulk and believes that it's not going to be any problem whatsoever for Thanos. Maybe one of the greatest instances that demonstrates the power of Thanos without the gauntlet is right here when Mantis drops in on him and tries to make him go to sleep, and he resists. Yes, he is wearing the gauntlet right here, but he is definitely not using it in this moment. We do know that he has to be able to make a fist in order to activate it. Which, by the way, I'm totally curious to know what your thoughts are here. Do you think that all of the Avengers know that he has to close the fist in order to activate the gauntlet, or are they just trying to keep his hand open to like remove it? Because either way, it seems like a happy coincidence that like that's their objective here. I don't know, leave your thoughts down below. Either way, the fact that Mantis can't do this here says a lot, because at the end of Guardians 2, we literally see her use this exact same trick to make an entire planet go to sleep. Planet, that's planet with a P. And by planet, I mean a celestial, a nearly one-of-a-kind entity that's trying to wipe out all of life in the entire universe. Although maybe this shouldn't be such a surprise after all. I mean, we do see Thanos physically handle the Infinity Stones with no problems whatsoever. While Quill, who is also celestial, or at least half, is barely able to handle one at a time and ultimately needs to recruit others to help him handle it. And one of those 3 is Gamora, who was built/trained by Thanos himself. So without the gauntlet, I think we can safely say that Thanos is the strongest being left in the galaxy, except for maybe Thor with Stormbreaker. Which, yes, also means that what I'm suggesting is that Thor is absolutely the most powerful of the Avengers. Except for maybe Captain Marvel. We haven't seen her yet. Basically, anyone who might have been able to defeat him prior to having the gauntlet would be Odin, Hela, an Asgardian army, or Surtur, who all basically destroyed one another. The events of Ragnarok could not have worked out better for Thanos. And now, with the Infinity Gauntlet, he basically seems invincible, except for maybe one thing. Sharp objects.
I can't tell if you're joking or not.
Yeah, I'm serious. While it seems more likely that they'll somehow remove the gauntlet and use that against him, it does seem like Thanos has one glaring weakness: to pointy objects. Seriously, what even was the point of all of that armor? Like, we see him take all sorts of blunt force trauma and blaster shots with seemingly no repercussions at all.
All that for a drop of blood.
But on the other hand, anyone who has any experience whatsoever with Thanos all seem to attack him with the same things. When Loki tries to pull a fast one on him, he literally pulls out a dagger and tries to go for the throat, and Thanos stops him. Wouldn't it have been so much more a demonstration of his power to let the blade go right across him and then kill him, proving that even that can't harm him? But no, he stops it. He's concerned about it. When Gamora, his daughter, who he trained, tries to go after him, she also uses a knife or a dagger, and we even see it work to some degree. Yes, this is all just an illusion caused by the Reality Stone, but either way, she doesn't seem surprised by the end result. It seems like she knew that stabbing him would work. When Nebula, also his daughter, arrives on Titan, she too brings a sword to a mitten fight. Actually, you know what? It's more of a zappy baton thing to a mitten fight. Geez, Nebula, can you even do anything right? This is clearly why Gamora's his favorite.
Thanks, Dad.
Regardless, there's also Drax, which is kind of a problem for the writers because he's always using these giant dagger things. No problem though, we'll just make sure that he hits him where Thanos is heavily protected, his boots. Awfully convenient. Strange almost gets it right and uses his magic sword thing, but alas, is magic just poofs? Tony goes for it twice with mixed results. The first time, Thanos is so worried about it that he actually throws a moon at him. And the next time, he just literally takes the blade from Tony in a scene that makes my stomach suck in every single time I see it. And then, of course, finally, Thor hits him in his not head with Stormbreaker and easily penetrates his skin. As I was saying, that penetrates his skin seems like he kind of gave him a boo-boo. He literally cuts his chest cavity open. Oh, that for a... Nope. You got me. You got me pretty good. So to review, without the gauntlet, yes, Thanos is one of the most powerful creatures in the galaxy, but over the course of a few days, the only people capable of defeating him seem to all be destroyed, kind of by each other. But then with all of them out of the way, he takes the opportunity to grab the most powerful object in the entire galaxy and basically becomes invincible. Unless you poke him with a knife. Or a really, really big axe right to the chest cavity. Guys, again, I want to give a huge thanks to Audible for sponsoring this video and remind you that you can get a free audiobook to keep and a 30-day trial by going to audible.com/SCB or simply text SCB to 500500. My book recommendation this month has to be one of my all-time favorite listens, The Martian. The narration is amazing, it is hilarious and dramatic, and above all else gives some wonderful tips on how to grow potatoes on Mars. I highly recommend you check it out, and guys, for my question of the day, what do you think? How will the Avengers ultimately take down Thanos? Is it just gonna be a mere flesh wound? Leave all of your thoughts in the towel section down below. But guys, as always, thanks for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you'd like to see some more Infinity War action from us, you can click right here to find out whether or not the snap actually killed Thanos, or right here to find out what Doctor Strange's true plan really is. But Jay, that's all I've got for you today, man. I will see you on Tuesday.